in the session so that they can be interested and join other batches which are coming up. So I'll be talking about the new batch that's coming up at the end. We will dive into the subject as of now. Before I get started, let me introduce myself for others, those who do not know me. So my name is Roshan Friends, Roshan Kumar. I have overall 18 years experience in IT. I'm with ISA from last 6 years and been into teaching profession from last 8 years. So teaching is one of my hobbies. I am a working professional. I'm currently working as a principal SRE with one of the reputed giants of the world. I started my career as a Java developer, and then I have been into various other tools. I have been a performance engineer myself for 6 years. I have been a hardcore performance engineering I have done. And from last 8 years, I'm working as a DevOps SRE consultant. I'm a multiple cloud provider solution architect certified. I have done my certifications in Azure, AWS, GCP, OCI, all the four, like these four cloud providers. So we are here to talk about the AWS, the cloud storage service, and the options that we have. So before we get started, so I hope everybody can see my uh, cloud console. Can I get a thumbs up from all of you?
Yeah.
Yes, all good? Perfect.
Yeah. All good.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
All good.
So, okay, perfect. So, see, we are here to talk about storage service. See, why do we use cloud? So we need to start from basics. At least for the first 5 minutes, we'll talk about the basics, and then we'll talk about the storage service. See, again, the question is that if you need to have a clear understanding of why do we use cloud, how different it is from on-prem. I know those who are attending my session, they would know this. I see folks from my ongoing batch. So this question is for others, friends. So would anybody let me know, like, what is cloud and how different it is from on-prem? Anybody would like to give a try? Just have this interaction. We'll keep this interactive session, and eventually we will learn at the end. By the end of the course, we'll definitely learn something. So anybody would like to express what is cloud and how different it is from on-prem, and what is the main difference?
Cloud is on pay as you go. Okay, what are the services you are required? You can use in the cloud, whereas in the traditional, we need to purchase the separate server, separate whatever based on the need. Okay, so in the traditional, everything will be expensive. Okay, and also it will be usagely more. So if you want to use for the app server, and we don't know how much the consumption we are using there. Whereas in cloud, whatever the usage we are going to
Right. But I understand where they're going, but if you could just simplify for others, what is cloud? How different from on-prem? In a very simple terms, if you could let everybody know, that would be better.
pay
Like,
as you go, that is
You
called
can
cloud.
refer to a machine which can be which is an online,
can you come
like
again? Yeah,
the machine which is online. Somewhere it
the
is on
must.
physical, but it is on online. Layman
So I
language.
can have on-prem machine also online. That is, I
In
can
a
have
lay,
a machine.
yeah,
I can have my laptop.
in a
I can have
layman
my
words,
laptop. Go
in
ahead. Go ahead.
in a layman words, cloud means is a hired one. That means you are just lending it, and premises is a owned one.
Yeah, own. Use OWN, right? Own.
Yes, own. Yep,
Yeah. And what is cloud?
loaned one. I mean, you just rented it.
Rented. Yes, that's good. Good, Subha. So friends, see, there's not much difference. If you look at from the infrastructure perspective, see, we have a data center. We have a data center. Let's say if I show you a diagram of a data center, this is how a data center looks like. Consider a multi-story building spread over multiple acres of land, and where all the rooms, big rooms, full of these kind of servers. That is what we call a data center. We have servers for compute, we have servers for storage, and we have other components. So by physical appearance, both remains the same. Either it is on-prem or cloud. If you look at this, doesn't matter. Let's say AWS, Amazon Web Services, let's say Jeff Bezos owns this, owner of Amazon.com. Let's say I have this Amazon.com website and my Amazon.com application is running here, let's say. So for Jeff Bezos, it you can say it's on-prem because so the definition, the difference is on the ownership. If you own this infrastructure, so it's a very big affair. It's not a very easy thing to own it. You have to purchase the land, procure the land, multiple acres. You have to construct the building. You have to purchase all the hardwares. You have to make sure you have multiple redundant power sources. These servers cannot run out of electricity. These servers cannot run out of internet. You need to have multiple internet service providers. You need to hire security people, security personnel for the security of this facility. These servers may run out of order. You need to keep replacing it. So you need to have engineers working, hardware engineers working in this facility, right? These servers will generate a lot of amount of electricity and heat. They will generate a lot of heat. So you need to maintain the temperature also. So cooling mechanism you have to set up. So it's a very costly affair to set up a data center. So if you set up a data center or the company where you work owns the data center, that's on-prem for the company. So if Jeff Bezos is having this infrastructure, this data center, and let's say he's using to deploy Amazon.com website, so for him it's on-prem. But if you leverage somebody else data center, let's say Jeff Bezos have other data centers as well, AWS owner of AWS is what I'm referring, Jeff Bezos. Let's say Jeff Bezos, AWS has more data centers, but you leverage it. You would like to like rent on the rent basis. You'll not have the ownership, but can I use some servers? Can I use some storage? I'll pay the rent. Like how we stay in the rented apartment. We don't own the flat, the apartment. We don't own it. We can stay, we can enjoy the service as long as we pay the rent. But we are not the owners. Same thing happens for the cloud. You can leverage the server, storage, and other services. As long as you pay the bill, you can use it. But the moment you start paying the rent, you would not be operational. You would not be able to access it. So that's the cloud difference. Whether you own it or you don't own it. If you own it, it's on-prem. But if you don't own it, you rent it, you leverage it. That's cloud. That's a very simple definition. There is no difference as such from the infrastructure perspective. Both are called data center. In cloud world, we use the word availability zone. For a data center, we use the word availability zone. We have a concept of region and availability zone, right? Now, one of the very important use case is to store the data. I want to store the information. That's very important because let's say a company like Netflix.com. The entire Netflix content that you watch is stored in S3, one of the service. So when you log into the cloud, we go to a service. Everything is through service. Let's say if you want the server, we have a service for that. We call it EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. If you go here, you can get the server. Similarly, you have service for storage. Let's say I want to store my content. Let's say Netflix stores. Am I audible to all of you? Right? All good?
Yeah, now it's
All good.
good.
All
Actually, it
good.
was
Yep.
paused a few seconds back.
Okay, what did you hear me last? I don't know how it got muted. What did you hear me last?
You just explained about EC2 part, and
Okay,
after that,
okay,
it got paused.
okay. I don't know how it got. Okay. So friends, like we have a service. If you come here, we have a service. Everything we do through service. We have a lot of use cases of using cloud. If I just tell you about the use cases of using cloud, I need the server. Why somebody would use cloud? Because they don't have the initial investment, first of all. Let's say all the application like Swiggy, Zomato, right? Uber, let's say they have this business idea or make my trip. They want to solve a problem, but not everybody can afford to set up their own data center. So why does one uses a cloud? What is the use case of using cloud? If I just put that in perspective, let's say, friends, I need the server. First thing is I need the servers. That's one of the very simple use case. I need the server to install my web server, to install my application server, to install my database server. I need the servers. So I definitely need the servers. And for that, we have a service called EC2. If we go to EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, and we create servers, as many servers as big servers, 4 core, 8 core, 16 core, 32 core, whatever as per my requirement, we can get the servers. Now, one of the second use case, popular use case is to storage. I need to store my data. I need to take the backup of my database every day, every hour. I need to store, I need to use it for the storage. Or I have a lot of data, like let's say company like Netflix. They have a lot of data. They need to store the data. Or any normal company, they need to keep taking the backup every day. And let's say they have a big database. So they need storage. So we have a lot of services for storage, and that's what we'll explore today. What are different services that we have for the storage? The popular storage services is EBS, EFS, and S3. We'll understand this. So EBS is the Elastic Block Store. EBS. So primarily there are three services is what we have. So EBS, friends, stand for Elastic Block Store. Why do we use Elastic Block Store? For what all require, for what all things we want to store it in this EBS? So when you create the server, friends, you know that you need the OS. Every server, every EC2 instance that you create, we need the OS. So where do we store the OS? Because it's very important. I cannot store the OS in a storage where read and write is slow. See, for storage, what matters from the performance perspective? What matters? IOPS play a very important role. Input output per second. The rate by which you write data to the disk, and the rate at which you read data from the disk. Input output per second. That's very important. IOPS is a very critical metric for the storage. So the EBS Elastic Block Store use case is the boot volume. We use EBS to store OS. Whenever we create the server, friends, whenever we create the server, we need a storage. Why? Because I need to store my OS. For example, I would simply ask you, we all have a laptop. Do we have disk in our laptop? Absolutely, yes. Mostly we have SSD. Yes. What will happen if you put HDD, friends?
slowness.
Performance will be reduced.
Right? Because the IOPS is slower for HDD. That's why we go for SSD, right? That matters. So we need a good storage whenever we talk about operating system, because when you boot your laptop, what happens? The operating system from the disk goes to the RAM, gets cached to the RAM. Right now I'm opening this notepad, I'm opening this Chrome browser, I'm opening Teams application. They're all running in my RAM. That's why I'm getting a better performance, like a smooth experience as a user. So RAM, again, the caching is very important for the performance. So let's talk about the storage. We'll not talk about the caching today. We'll talk about the storage. So we need EBS. We need the boot volume with better IOPS. So we use SSD. Mostly we use SSD here. And another use case of EBS is the database. Whenever we create a database server, we will always get EBS. Because again, the IOPS, I don't want to use a cheaper storage where I struggle with IOPS. If you use HDD, you may get a query response time in 2 seconds, but if you use SSD, you may get in 500 milliseconds. That's the difference between the IOPS, input output per second. And if you are having IOPS issue, you are struggling, and let's say your application is such where you have high IO, you need to select better IOPS. storage with better IO. So we have that option as well. In EBS, we have got multiple categories of better IOPS. We have a lot of options here in AWS. So what we usually select in EBS when we create the server, which I'm going to show you in a while. So what we usually select is GP2 or GP3, general purpose 2 or general purpose 3. We select this EBS volume. We have other categories also, which with better IOPS. Depending, let's say you are running one application and you are seeing performance issues because the application has higher IO. So you need to select, or to as a solution architect, you need to advise others that please use other options in the EBS volume. Don't use the same option. Right? That's for the EBS. I'll come to EFS later. I'll talk about S3 first. Now that's called the EBS, friends. Let me complete EBS. Today we'll focus on EBS. We'll be able to justify EBS today. We'll not take up EFS and S3, but I'll just introduce you. S3, you can dump anything. S3 behind the scene, they use HDD. They will not reveal. AWS do not reveal where they are storing the content. But S3 stands for Simple Storage Service. And they call it object storage. You can store anything here. Media files, MP4, MP3, zip file, tar files, anything, whatever you have, you can just dump it. It's called object storage. Obviously, the IOPS is lesser as compared to EBS. Cost is also lesser as compared to EBS. The popular use case of S3 is Netflix, all our data, because we don't need IOPS. We don't keep hitting the S3. Once we start the content, we keep on buffering it, right? We don't need that much IOPS. So it's not requirement because cost matters. Netflix could use EBS also to store all the content, but it doesn't make sense. We don't require that much of high IOPS to watch a content. S3 is a good use case for Netflix. Apart from Netflix, we have Dropbox. NASDAQ uses S3 to dump their all the information of the secondary market. Like NASDAQ is the US exchange. Like a lot of use case. There are a lot of companies they use for the backup and restore. Even on-prem, the companies who have on-prem, they use S3 to use as the backup. They use the backup the data to the S3. So it's called object storage, and we have a lot of use case of S3. Okay. Now we have the third storage service is called Elastic File System. It is called network file system. In the on-prem, we have a network file system, NFS. So it's called Elastic File System, and what it gives you, what it enables, that you can connect to EFS from multiple EC2 instances. It's a centralized place. It is costlier than EBS, friends. EFS is 3x costlier than EBS. 3x. EFS is costlier. EFS is costlier. Is 3x costlier than EBS. And we call it centralized file system. Like we can have an elastic file system, and I can connect from multiple EC2 instances, and I can access the same data. For example, popular use case of EFS is that, let's say you have a website. You can have all the pages of the website stored in EFS because it's a central location, and from multiple EC2 instances can connect to EFS and can get the same data, right? So just know that for now. We'll discuss sometime later. This is called centralized file system. So we store the data in a centralized fashion, centralized file system, and we can connect multiple EC2 instances in one go. Hundreds of EC2 instances we can connect to the EFS volume, and all the EC2 instances can access the same data, right? So today I just gave you the overview about these three. We will focus today on the EBS part, friends. Right? We'll focus on other storage services next weekend. Right. So we'll talk about the EBS today. Any questions on the introduction?
Can you come
We
again?
use
Rosh,
which one?
yeah, basically what context we were using. In olden days, they were using IOPS or now also still they were using IOPS system.
No, IOPS is always there, right? IOPS is a property of the storage. Earlier, when you had HDD, the IOPS were lesser. Now you use SSD, IOPS is more. IOPS is a metric, input output per second. How better you can read data, how better you can write data. That's called IOPS. It's a feature, it's a property of a storage service. IOPS is nothing but a property. These are the storage services, EBS, S3, and EFS of AWS.
Okay, Rosh. Okay, but everything follow the same standards. That's what you were saying. Yeah, ABS, S3, or whatever you are calling them, right? Everything they will follow the standards of IOPS.
See, okay, if I have understood your question correctly, we have for the EBS, we have multiple options. So I'll talk about IOPS here. Like IOPS, what is IOPS? Would you define IOPS, Upendra? I would like to understand what is your understanding of IOPS.
IOPS is the technology, or will it be
No
used in?
technology, no technology,
Okay.
no technology. Like
Yeah.
response time. Let's say what is response time?
Yeah, if you want to say any site will be opening, right? How much time it will be taking the response?
That's all, right? So
Yeah.
IOPS will give you how good your storage is. Not able to understand?
Yeah. Got it.
You have HDD, one storage. Earlier, 20 years back, we were using HDD. Now we use SSD. What is the difference of IOPS between these two? Which one is better IOPS? Which one would have better experience? Let's say, which one will you use in your laptop? Upendra, this question is to you. Which one will you use in your laptop?
Voice was disconnected.
Okay,
Mine be.
I'll repeat my question. I have two storage. I have HDD, hard disk, and I have SSD, solid state drive. I have two options. Which one will you select in your laptop to store your operating system?
Now SSD. Now we don't have hard disk. Okay.
No, we have it. You go to the market, they will give you. But which
Okay,
one
no,
will you
India.
opt?
Okay.
My question is simple. I'm not asking whether its market is available or not. My question is not that. My question is which one will you opt?
Yeah, HDD only I can apply.
Which one?
HDD.
In your laptop, do you have HDD right now?
That's what I'm telling you, right? Basically, earlier we have the disk, the storage system. Now we don't have anything, disk,
No,
nothing.
you are just give the opposite answer. Earlier we used to use HDD. Now we have SSD. If you check your laptop, mostly you're using SSD drive. SSD has better IOPS than HDD.
Oh, okay. Sorry, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
HDD is slower. If you use your HDD, your laptop will boot in 5 minutes. Does your laptop boot in does that take 5 minutes?
No. It's matter of the seconds, yeah.
So it's using SSD. So the IOPS is better. That's what we call it. The performance with SSD is better.
Got it.
So
Okay.
IOPS is a property of a storage. How good, how well you read data and how fast you write data. That is called IOPS. It's not a technology, it's a metric. Like how we have response time, CPU as the metric, IOPS is also a metric. Unable to understand everybody on the same page? Can I get thumbs up from all of you? Are we good with this definitions, friends?
Yeah, we could understand.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. So let's talk about EBS, friends. We'll focus on EBS today. So as I told you, why do we use EBS? The use case of EBS is that whenever you create a server, we use EBS volume to store the operating system. And if we are creating a database server, we use EBS because IOPS are better. We use SSD. Let's understand this. So when you create the server, so you go to EC2 instance, EC2 service, and let's say let's create a server. I have a server, stop, but let's not worry about it. Let's create a server. So what are things we require? Let's say somebody asks you to configure your laptop. Let's say you go to Dell.com, Lenovo.com, and let's say somebody asks you configure your laptop. So as you know, you would be asked mostly to provide your operating system, the core, the RAM, the disk. These four are the common, right? You have to select it. So same thing goes here. I'm going to select these things. Let's say I selected Ubuntu as the operating system, Linux. Instance type, let's say I will use the free tier. I'll use T2.micro as part of free tier. I selected Ubuntu as the AMI. And let's say for the instance type, I selected 1 vCPU, 1 GB RAM, let's T2.micro. And all the options, whatever I'm selecting is here in the summary. Key pair, because I need to log into the server, I'll use a key pair. Friends, everybody knows this. Those who are attending cloud for the first time, do we all know this?
Yes, I know.
Because good. Can I get thumbs up? Just like from all of you, are we good here? What am I doing right now? Across, can I get across thumbs up? Or because if you don't know this, you will not be able to understand what I'm trying to convey. Okay, okay, good. So I'm creating a key pair to log in, right? I need to log into my server. Let's say I select a key pair. Let's say my key pair is this. I would select a network. Like where do I want? Well, I'll create a security group. Let's say I select a security group. I have a security group. To launch Wizard 2. I use the default network. And now comes the storage. This is where we are talking about. This is what we need to focus on. Right now, I am creating a server. I have configured the AMI, the operating system, Ubuntu, selected the core and the RAM, 1 vCPU, 1 GB RAM. I selected a firewall, like something, and now by default, they're giving me 8 GB. I can go up to 100 GB also, 200 GB also. Now look at the options here. By default, they're giving me GP3, general purpose 3. We have other options also. We have GP2. We have IO1, IO2. We have these options. How they are different from each other, that's very important. I told you EBS volume, one of the popular use cases is the boot volume. So this is the volume where my operating system is going to get stored. Because my operating system is Ubuntu. And if I just launch EC2 instance, friends, I'll get GP3, general purpose 3, 8 GB. But let's understand this. That's what we need to understand. EBS volumes. So that's what we need to understand here. Different options we have and how they are different. So if you go for the solution architect certified exam, they will definitely ask you these questions. So look at the options that you have. Again, we have multiple options. We have solid state drive, we have hard disk drive, and we have previous generations, like a lot of things we have, but let's not focus on HDD and previous generation, we'll focus on SSD. And now we have these many options, friends. So as part of GP2 and GP3, the most common one, general purpose. And you have this Amazon EBS general purpose SSD volumes. And the use case, why do we use EBS is here. We use for the boot volumes. We use for the medium-sized single instance databases. We can also use for development and test environment. Popular, very popular. Transactional workloads in the database if you're handling. Virtual desktops, low latency interactive applications. These are all the use cases of using this GP2 or GP3. Now, for example, let's say you need more IOPS because GP2 and GP3 can give you IOPS up to 16,000 IOPS. 16,000 bytes per second. They can give you maximum throughput up to 1000 MIB per second. So you need to remember this kind of a number. They will ask you in the certification exam. If you are going for the certification exam, they will ask you that what is the maximum IOPS. So they will see in the solution architect certified exam, they will not ask you direct question. What is the maximum capacity of GP3 or GP2? No, they will ask you like this. A company is having issues with IO. The IO requirement is more than 1000 MIB per second, like more than 20, like the requirement is 20,000, right? And throughput requirement is more than 1000. As a solution architect, what will you suggest? The company currently using GP2, something like that. So basically, they're asking you to suggest IO1 or IO2 block express, IO1 here. So they will ask you scenario-based questions in the certification exam. That's very important. So this table here is very important. So if you need better IOPS, we have IO1 also. As IO1, you can see we have 64,000 IOPS and it can support up to 1000 MIB per second. If you need more higher, IO2 block express. Now this gives you up to 256,000 IOPS and 4000 MIB per second. This much of data could be written MIB, maybe byte. It's like MB only. Slight difference is there. 1 MIB is equal to 1.023 MB. So this much data could be written per second. So fast it is. And we use this IO2 block express for the sub-millisecond latency, sustained IOPS performance, more than 64,000 IOPS or 1000 MIB per second. So if you have this, so if you remember, you need to remember this kind of keywords. If you're going for the certification exam, they will ask you this kind of keyword and it will be scenario based questions. You would not, they will simply not ask you the requirement. They will ask you in a very, being a solution architect, what would you suggest to the client? Something like that. So they basically, if your question, you need to know the numbers here and you need to understand what is the best, because your suggestions should be cost optimized also. For everything, you cannot just select IO2. No, they may ask you the requirement is of more than 250 MIB per second, but they're okay with this IOP. So basically they're expecting you to use GP3 or they're expecting you to use IO1 if they have such requirement, right? So we need to be careful with the number and we need to suggest them. So this table is very important. Now, one of the other important metric you have for this EBS is the durability. Durability is the measure of data loss. Like when you store the data, let's say I store the data in GP3 or GP2. What is the annual failure rate? How much data could be lost? So they have this. See, AWS is giving you disclaimer that I can give you this much of durability. Means 0.1 or 0.2% could be lost. Data could be lost. So out of, let's say you store 100 GB of data. So 0.1 of 100 GB or up to 0.2% of 100 GB could be lost. Could be. There are probability that it could be lost. So don't sue AWS if you lose the data. So we have other options also. We can take a backup and we can manage it. But if you don't take a backup and just store the data, AWS is giving you guarantee that it will maintain this much of durability. The best durability is for the IO2 block express. It's very costly. 99.999%. So 0.001% annual failure rate. That's the best. So IoT Block Express has the most costly EBS volume. It's like similar to RAM. Cost is like a RAM. Very costly. So this table is very important, and they will ask you in any certification exam. If you go in every exam, you'll be asked one question or two questions from this. Definitely. So this table is very important because they give you option of provision. You can provision the IOPS. See, one thing is very important that these are burst type. So if you see, you can support up to 16 TIB. You can have a size of 16 TIB. So more the storage, more the IOPS. Let's say you used 100 GIB. So the IOPS will be 300. If you use 200 GIB, IOPS will be 600. So into 3, it is a burst type, but it gives you provisioned option. Like from even if you use 100 GB of IO2, you can have 4000 MIB per second and you can have 256,000 IOPS. But these are burst type, bursting. More the storage, more the IOPS. Right? So you have these options. So this is a very important information here. And based on this, definitely they will ask questions. And it's a very important data. Let's think about it. If you know this information, and let's say you are troubleshooting a performance issue in production, and you are seeing that IO is the problem, and the company using GP2, you can very much suggest that use IO1. IO2 block express will be the extreme case, but you can definitely very much suggest to use IO1, which gives a better IOPS and a better throughput. And it gives the provision throughput. Even with the smaller data, smaller size of the storage, you can provision the throughput from even for a smaller storage. But these are burst type. If you have 1 TIB, then only you can have the better storage like into 3. So 100 GB means 300 IOPS. Similar to that, you can multiply. So it's a bursting type GP2 and GP3. That's why they're not using the word provision. It's a very important word, provisioned. You can provision the IOPS. Making sense, friends? What I'm trying to tell you? Sustained IOPS performance. That's the key here. Sustained IOPS. You don't see these words here. Friends, making sense? The various kinds of options that we have in EBS. These 4 options we have in EBS. And usually we select GP3, good enough. And we create the server. So I selected 8 GB. Since I have been signed out. Okay, am I making sense to all of you?
Yes, Rasan, absolutely, sir.
Okay, friends, so let me create a server. I'll just use this Ubuntu. I'll just use t2.micro. I'll use a key pair. So I'll use the existing security group, let's say, and I'll use 8 GB launch instance. I just launched the instance. My server is launching up. Now this server has 8 GB of storage. The volume, EBS volume, and you can see it here in the volumes. You can see this 8 GB. So you will see 2 data, 8 GB, because I have one stop status also. I have got 2 servers, by the way. One is running right now. This is the one we created. So my server is server that I'm created just now. So my instance ID is very important here. So ending with 312. So this is also having 8 GB of EBS. This is also having 8 GB of EBS. So don't worry about that. Focus on this 312. So if I go to the volumes, friends, I'll go to the 312. This is the last one here, 312, because my EBS volume, this EBS volume is of 8 GB and it is attached. Look at this, you can attach to this EC2 instance. When we SSH to this EC2 instance, we can see this disk. We can see this EBS volume. So what we can do, and look at this IOPS here, 125 throughput. But if I use more, let's say I'll just show you, I'll create another volume. I'll show you, we have the options, we can select all these options. We have HDD options also, but let me just focus on GP2 and GP3 and IO1, IO2 here. If I select GP3, and if I use 1000 GB of data, so I can have maximum of 16,000 IOPS. let's say I use, let's say I'm going to use 2000 data to 2000, and I can have IOPS up to 16,000. I can use it. So I can use up to between 3,000 to 16,000. So I cannot have an IOPS more than 16,000 in GP3. If I do GP2, look at this. I am getting this option. So we have nowadays we have moved away from GP2. Nobody uses GP2. We always use GP3. Now, if I show you 100, look at this. I am getting only 300. So GP2 is only bursting time. GP2, GP3 you can provision. We do have the option in GP3. GP2 is bursting. Look at it. I don't have the option. If I use 100 GB of storage, I'm getting 300 IOPS. If I use 200 GB of storage, I'm getting 600 IOPS. And if I use 1000 GB of data, I'm getting 3000 IOPS, and I cannot have more than 3000 IOPS. That would be the better number. So this table needs to be corrected. I think I should use 3000 here. They should correct this table and look at this, because that's the real thing I'm showing you. I cannot have, even if I put 2000, can I get, I have 6000 on this. This table is correct then. Look at this. Maximum 16,000 I have. Let's say I'll use, let's say 5,000 of GB. I have 5,000. If I use 8,000, 16,000 at the cap. Perfect. Good. So 16,000 IOPS I can go. So point is it's bursting type. More the storage, better the IOPS. I cannot provision it for GP2. For GP3, I can provision. 1 second, friends. So look at this, friends. So GP2 is bursting type. GP3, we do have the option of provisioning, but we can maximum 16,000 IOPS, 1000 MIB per second. I can provision. So GP2 is only bursting type. We should remember it. So they should make it GP2 is only bursting, not GP3. And nowadays we don't use GP2. By default, they give us GP3, which you can provision. If you use GP3, if you use even 100 GB, you can provision up to 16,000 IOPS, I believe. Yes, you can provision. That's good. So only GP2 is bursting. GP3, you can have provision also. And IO1 and IO2 block space, definitely you can provision as per the number here. 16,000, 250, 64,000 and 256,000 IOPS, and this much throughput, right? So let's focus right now, friends. I have a server right now, and the server is having 8 GB of disk. Let's connect to the server. Let's do SSH to the server. I'll do the SSH in a very simple manner using EC2 instance connect. Now, as you can see here, I'll become the root user. Okay. So friends, if you want to see the disk, how can you check? Do df-h. So you can see the disk. So you have total 8 GB of disk, 6.8 GB is mounted to the root. So 7 GB is mounted to the root, and there are some other spaces mounted to other locations. Right now, as you can see here, you have, this is the usage right now. You can type lsblk to check. Look at this. You have this disk xvda, 8 GB of disk is attached to this EC2 instance. And xvda1 has 7 GB, and there are other xvda1, 14, 15, 16. You have 4 MB, 106 MB, 913 MB. If you add all these things, you'll get 8 GB of disk. So why do you have Friends, only 5 GB available. Why do you have 1.7 GB available? Who is taking 1.7 GB? What is taking 1.7 GB, friends?
Oh, yes.
Root one.
What is taking?
OS.
OS. Yes, good. OS is taking. Right now, I'm not storing anything. I just created the server. OS is taking 1.7 GB. Right? And as you can see here, now let's say I want to use this as the database server. Let's say I have only 8 GB of boot. This is what we call it boot volume. So we need, for the boot volume, we need EBS. Now I want to use this server as a database server. Let's say I need more storage. I need 500 GB or 100 GB of more storage. So what I can do, I can add one more volume. We can add one more volume and attach to the same EC2 instance. That can be done, friends. So that can be done. But point is the EBS volume is AZ logged. Means if your EC2 instance is in 1 AZ, right now my EC2 instance, this 312 EC2 instance is in 1B. The volume has to be in 1B. See, you know that in the cloud how it works, right? I have explained that to multiple times. Everything is connected over the network. Yes or no, friends? Everything is connected over the network. Like in the cloud, everything is virtualized. In the cloud, everything is virtualized. Your compute is virtualized. Your disk is virtualized. Your network is virtualized. Everything is virtualized. And when you create the EC2 instance, the things gets connected. The ENI, the compute, the disk gets connected over the network. And then you call it one EC2 instance. I can create one more volume and attach to the same EC2 instance. Yes, that can be done. So that is how we increase the storage. And we will be storing our database files, right? So we always do that whenever for the database server, whenever we need more storage, we create our own volume. We call it data volume, and we store the DB files and all those things there. So we need to create another volume, mount to the same EC2 instance, and then do the formatting, and then we can use it, friends. Let's understand the process. In this entire process, you should know that the EC2 instance and the volume should be in the same. Friends, please complete the sentence. Should be in the same.
No.
AZ. Same AZ. Friends, am I making sense to all of you? Why they cannot be in the different AZ? What is the problem? If my compute and my disk will be into a different AZ, what is the problem?
Timing. Performance issue.
Within the server itself, I will have issues. Like friends, are we there, able to understand things? Suganya, right? I'm expecting you guys to answer. Why we are not answering? Those who are attending my sessions. Right, friends, they have to be in the same AZ. Unnecessary. Look at this, friends. This is a behind the scene of the EC2 instance. Right? Behind the scene. We have the compute in one server. See, in the data center, see, look at the motherboard. In motherboard, our laptop, everything is embedded on top of motherboard. Your core, your RAM, your disk, your network card, your BIOS, everything is embedded on top of motherboard. This is not how it works in the cloud. Everything is a different server. You have a compute for compute, we have a different server. For disk, we have a different server. For ENI, we have a different server within the same data center, but it's a different server. And when you create the server, because of virtualization, these things are virtualized. these things gets connected. One VCP you asked for 8 GB, you asked for a network. These things get connected over the network. And that's what we call it EC2 instance. So don't think your EC2 instance is like your laptop. You have a motherboard. No, it doesn't work in the cloud that way. So I can create another volume. Like if somebody asks, can I increase the storage for my laptop? Yes, I can add a drive, right? I can add a hard disk and I can extend my storage to 1 TB. I have a USB port. I can just plug it and I can extend my storage of my laptop from my laptop to additional storage, whatever I have. Same thing. I can create another volume and I can attach to the same EC2 instance. But the point is the volume has to be in the same AZ. I cannot have my storage in a different AZ. That's not possible. And AWS even doesn't even allow that. Making sense, everybody? Am I making sense to all of you? Can I get thumbs up from all of you, friends? Okay, good. So now what I'm going to do, I'll create another volume. Okay, my both the servers in the stop status. Don't worry, that is also in 1B. Don't worry. I'll not focus on that. I'll focus on my volume. I'll create in 1B anyway. Let's say create a volume. Just for the demonstration, I'll not use 500 GB unnecessary cost. I'll just use 5 GB. If I want this 5 GB of volume to be attached in the same EC2 instance, which is in 1B, I have to create this volume in 1B. Yes or no? I cannot select 1A here and attach to the EC2 instance. No, that's not possible. So I selected 1B here because my EC2 instance in 1B. I'm creating the volume. So this volume is available. This 5 GB of volume will be available. As you can see here, it's available. It's getting created and it will be available. Other two are in use because they are attached to the server. This is available. So I can attach this. I can attach to this volume to an EC2 instance in 1B. So let's go ahead to the EC2 instances and attach it. I'll select this server and let's first attach it, friends. So I'll go to the volumes. And what is my instance ID? 312 means. So remember that I want to attach the 5 GB of volume to an EC2 instance ending with 312, where instance ID ending with 312. I'll go to the volumes. I'll select the 5 GB actions, attach volume. I'll do this. And I'm going to attach. I have two servers, but I'll attach it here. This one is the stop one. This is running. I want to attach it here, 312. And I'm going to give a name. I can give a name between SDF because it's a data volume. So I'll use SDF. I'll use SDF to SDFP. And can you give any? I'll give this name, attach volume. So I have attached the volume to the EC2 instance. I have not formatted it. I just attached it. So I'll go to the EC2 instance. See, when I typed lsblk before attaching, I was not getting the option of 5 GB. But if I type now lsblk, I'm going to type it again. You will see this entry here because it's attached xvdf. There's a new entry now of 5 GB. But is it mounted to anywhere? Do you see this 5 GB is mounted to any location?
No.
No, it is not mounted. If it is not mounted, I cannot use it because I need to have a location in the server. I need to have a location. I need to mount this disk. Then only I can use it. So I will create a mount point. Let's say mkdir. Under the root, I'll create my mount one. I'll just put my mount one. I'll give this name mount1. And I need to mount this. So friends, to mount this, I need to format it first. Let's say when you add a pen drive to your laptop, you do formatting FAT32 NTFS. We do that, right? In Windows. Remember, you might have done it earlier. Similar thing we have to do in Linux. We call it MKFS formatting. OK, so friends, I'll do a couple of commands here and then I'll be able to use the 5 GB. So I'll do fdisk-l just to see the details of the disk. So this is the location of my disk. And I'll do MKFS ext4. I'll do like how we have FAT32 and NTFS. Similarly, in Linux, we have ext4. MKFS. And I'll give this location, friends. So friends, don't worry, I have given you the commands here. So if you are looking for the commands, how to do this, we have a command here, mount. So in this, your GitHub page, I have given you the command. OK, so just remember this command. So mkfs.ext4 is what we give, right? So just give this mkfs.ext4 and the location. That's all. That's the command number 1. And we'll be able to mount it after this. That's all. 2 commands. This is how we format it. And once we format it, we are going to mount this. Mount this disk to mount1. That's all. The moment we mounted it, you will see lsblk. It will show you that it's mounted. And now df-h will also show you. So whatever you store under the mount1. So if I go to cd mount1, if you go inside this, whatever you store here in this location, it is going to be stored in your VPC, in your volume, the volume 5 GB of volume that you created. So I could extend so as you can see, what did I do? I extended. Now this 5 GB could have been 100 GB, could have been 500 GB. Now I can store my database here. I can have my DB files, all the important files stored here, and I can take the backup also. I can take the backup also of this volume separately. A lot of, I can take the backup, we call it create snapshot. I can take the backup also, and a lot of things could be done. So I'll be able to mount it. So what did we discuss, friends, today? So we are just stopping it right now. So what did we discuss today? We just discussed that what is EBS volume, different options we have, GP2, GP3. We understood that GP2 is the only guy which is bursting type. GP3 could be provision, but maximum it supports up to 16,000 IOPS, both GP2 and GP3, and it can support up to 1000 MIB per second. And we have other options called IO1 and IO2 block express. IO1 can support up to, you have the table, 64,000 IOPS, and IO2 block express can support up to 256,000. And we can provision here things here. So these things, if you remember it, friends, that's all. You'll be able to take up like these questions in the certification exam, right? And you'll be able to suggest how do we extend EBS volume if you need to. Right? Now, let's say you store whatever you needed. Now you want to unmount it. You can unmount also. You can just come out and you can mount also. That can be also done. Mount 1. Friends, you unmounted it. You can unmounted, it's gone from here. You don't see it, and I can detach also. Once unmounted, we can detach also, and we can attach to other guy also if you want. A lot of such things could be done. Just the plugin, like I can take the pen drive for one server and attach it to other server, like same thing. It will be available. It's available now, so I can attach this to other server in the same easy. But for in the next session, friends, what we'll discuss that how can we take a backup of this and attach this volume to an EC2 instance in another AZ. Let's say my EC2 instance in 1A. So how can I attach this volume, which is in 1B, to an EC2 instance in 1A? How can we do that? We'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about EFS. We'll talk about S3 in upcoming sessions, friends. So that's all I wanted to cover today, friends. Any questions? Any clarifications that you need? The commands that I've typed, you can find the commands in your GitHub repo, which I have shared with you already. I can share it again. So this is the command I have used. Couple of commands. You can just share this link with you. Right. So when you think like that, your disk is in one AZ, your compute is in another AZ. Don't you think your unnecessary delay will be there within the same server? The AZ are 200 miles apart, 200 miles apart. How can we do this? Unnecessary delay you are creating within the server itself.
True.
Right, Suganya? Able to understand? First of all, AWS would not even allow. Okay, friends. So that's all, friends, for today from my side. So for the new folks, I would like to let you know that, friends, if you're looking for a full-fledged course of cloud, containerization, Docker, Kubernetes, DevOps, SRE concepts, performance, Java performance engineering, Linux, automation using Terraform, Ansible, monitoring using Elk Stack and Prometheus, friends, you can attend my demo. I'm gonna just show you. I'm coming up with a batch, new batch, not over the weekends. My weekends batch are going on. You will not be able to join this batch. I also have a weekday batch in the evening, but I'm coming with a new weekends batch in the morning time. So you can attend the demo, friends. The batch will, but timing would be 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. IST. That will be the actual timings. But you can attend the demo on 10th of May, which is next Saturday at 11 a.m. IST. So I'll have a demo on 10th of May. You can attend the demo and I'll talk more about the course, what it is, the SRE course. I'll talk about it and you can have, I'll share this link with you. You can, meanwhile, if you're interested to attend this, you can go over the course syllabus, AWS, Linux, SRE, Docker, Kubernetes, uh, DevOps. We have how do you make your application reliable, observability, Java performance engineering, automation, Linux. So you have a lot of things here. I'm going to share this link with all of you. You can attend the demo, friends, and I would talk more about the course and you can take a call, which if this benefits your career, it will. If you're looking for a, if you are a aspiring SRE engineer and looking for a transition into cloud domain, want to understand Kubernetes, how it works, want to understand how automation works, different SRE concepts that we have, how SRE works, right? So you can um, attend the demo, friends. I'll talk more about that. Today is not the right time to talk about the course. I'll talk about that in the demo, 10th of May, 11 a.m. IST, Indian Standard Time. And it will be of 2 hours, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. over the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. You can attend the free demo session and you can take a call. Okay, friends, so I hope everybody learned something today. Right? Any questions? I can take it up. Last few questions about whatever we have discussed today. Friends, please make sure you terminate this volume. Don't keep it unnecessary. So 5 GB of volume that you have, please delete it. Unnecessary, don't have it. It will cost. And make sure you terminate the server also at the end so that you don't incur the cost. I need the server, this server, because I need this, so I'm not terminating it. Okay, friends. So that's all for today from my side. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.